Today, I'm out here in this forest ecosystem observing how different organisms interact. It seems like each different population of organisms has a specific job and place to live. But what happens if their food source runs out or a new population of organisms moves in to the neighborhood? Let's find out together in this episode all about interdependence in an ecosystem. Before we jump into how all of these organisms interact, I think it's important to do a quick recap on the levels of organization in an ecosystem, just so we're all on the same page. First, we have an organism, like this cardinal, just an individual living thing. Then a group of the same species of cardinal is the population, all of the cardinals in this area. Then this population of cardinals, along with the populations of foxes and copperheads and dragonflies and milkweed and swallowtail butterflies and any other living or biotic factors, all together form a community. Add in the non-living or abiotic factors like water and sunlight, and there you have an ecosystem. Perfect. Now back to how all of this stuff interacts. Populations exist in a constantly shifting system. Some relationships help keep communities in balance. Other relationships can change those communities completely. In ecology, interdependence refers to the idea that the population of species in an ecosystem depend on each other.
Like this snake friend. He depends on the fish and frog populations for food, but also on the water plants and insects the fish and frogs eat.
If the population of one species rises or falls, that the populations of other species in the same community will change in some way. Because everything is so connected, there are several different relationships that form among the populations. Let's take a look at some examples. Probably one of the most obvious interactions in an ecosystem is competition. Competition is a really important part of how species interact when their habitats overlap. Competing for food resources, finding a place to call home, and finding a suitable mate are all some of the main priorities for all species. We tend to think of competition as happening between animals, but really it occurs between almost all plants, animals, bacteria, and fungi. These complex interactions help to maintain a balanced and healthy ecosystem. Whenever species compete, they are going after the same resources that they need for survival and their continued population growth. For example, back here in this creek, there are several fish that are competing for the same nesting sites and the same food. Competition is happening because of these resources that we're talking about are limited, finite, and they can run out. We call them limiting factors. I want to quickly note that there are two different types of competition. Interspecific competition, where different species compete for the same resources, and intraspecific competition, where the same species compete for the same resources. Things like the best mate, the best nesting site, and so on. When two species are directly competing for the same resources, eventually one is going to be more successful and eliminate the other. Because of this, ecologists have found that no two species can occupy the exact same niche or niche. I think either are correct. Or is it either? I'm saying niche because it sounds just a little more fancy. Okay, back to interdependence. So no two species can occupy exactly the same niche in the exact same habitat at the exact same time. This is known as the competitive exclusion principle. In order to survive, every organism finds its own niche or role in the community. An organism's niche includes what and when it eats, when it's active, what it uses for shelter, and how it reproduces. If two organisms have the exact same niche, they will be in direct competition with each other. Direct competition usually isn't pretty, so some species have found creative ways of sidestepping the violence. This is called resource partitioning. This phenomenon occurs when two species indirectly compete for the same resources by developing different behaviors or niches. This can be as simple as different birds nesting at slightly different times of the year, or certain species preferring to eat the lichen that grows at the top of the tree versus the bottom. Another type of interaction is predation. Who is eating who, or is it whom? Populations obviously change because of predator-prey relationships. Predators are organisms that consume other organisms, and prey are the organisms who are being consumed. For predators, the amount of prey is a limiting factor. We tend to think of predation in terms of animals: owls eating mice, bears eating fish, or even spiders eating flies. But predation is more than the carnivores catching dinner. Predation applies to a variety of interactions where one organism consumes another organism for its energy. This is an important thing to remember, because a good deal of what we study about nature comes down to the flow of energy through an ecosystem. It's as simple as predators eating because they're hungry, and they're hungry because they need energy to survive and reproduce. And if you're the prey, these interactions add another thing to worry about: being eaten. Because we know that almost all energy on Earth starts with plants, we need to remember even a bear eating some berries is a type of predation known as herbivory, where an organism eats plants or algae to capture its energy. It may not seem like predation to you, but a cute little manatee eating seaweed or a deer consuming grass are all examples of organisms consuming other organisms to capture the energy from the sun. If you're still here liking this video, let us know, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. This type of interaction has resulted in both predator and prey developing adaptations to help them either be successful in the hunt or avoiding detection or capture. On the predator side, you have hunting and eating adaptations, like the owl's silent flight or incredible eyesight to sneak up and seek out rodents in low light, or the heat-sensing night vision and venom of a pit viper used to capture and immobilize its prey. Cheetahs have incredible speed and agility. Spiders construct intricate webs to capture prey, and sharks have all those teeth. So many teeth. The prey have a few tricks up their sleeves as well. The name of the game is to not be eaten. So prey have developed some pretty neat adaptations to either avoid being seen, avoid being captured, or avoid being messed with or handled. To avoid detection, some prey adapt cryptic coloration or camouflage. This helps a particular species blend in to the background. The octopus is hands down the champion of the cryptic coloration game. This strategy is so successful that you can find examples throughout the animal kingdom, from mammals and amphibians to reptiles, birds, arachnids, insects, and fish. Avoiding capture means you need to be fast or travel in large groups like herds or schools if you're a fish. Traveling in large groups doesn't keep you from being detected. It just increases your odds of escape. You just have to be faster than that other guy. And then, if you don't want to be messed with, you just develop tons of thorns, nasty sap, or warning coloration. The fire salamander's coloration screams, "Eat me and you'll be sorry." The red, yellow, and black bands of the coral snake make it clear to predators that messing with this snake will create a bad day for you, like your last day ever on Earth. These are legitimate warnings, but some prey species have caught on to the benefit of these warning coloration and have somehow copied or mimicked this strategy. You see this a ton with butterflies, for example. One species is toxic, and the other just sort of liked their outfit. It's way more complicated than that, but we should save details for another episode. Members of a population often cooperate or work together in order to survive. Some monkeys hunt in teams in order to increase their odds of success. In some herds, animals warn one another about the presence of a predator. It makes sense that members of the same species would help each other out, but what happens when members of different species work or even live together? Symbiotic relationships are interspecies interactions where different species join forces, not only to survive, but sometimes thrive. This is the ultimate in conflict avoidance. In cases of symbiosis, species in a community manage to avoid competition altogether by forming relationships that benefit one, if not both, of the individuals involved. Other symbiotic relationships aren't as attractive, but they still avoid that direct competition, like commensalism. This is a relationship where one species benefits and the other is kind of like, okay. Like barnacles hanging out on a whale. The barnacles get scraps and a place to live, and the whale gets decoration? Really nothing that we can observe. Then there is the dreaded parasitism. This relationship benefits the parasite and harms the host. Think fleas or ticks. But most of the time, the harm done is not enough to keep the host from carrying on and living their life. Because, after all, if there's no host, there's no relationship. Just think of all the interdependence we have as part of the ecosystem we are a part of. Who helps you? Who do you avoid? What food do you eat, and where does it come from? Sometimes we forget that we play a part in this web of interactions. So let's be challenged to take care of the ecosystems that we are a part of. And if you want to learn more science, you can check out this video next.
Check out. I just saw a great blue heron.